All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Life-Undeferred OPEN MIC. Jared Sylvester here joining you, actually live. I'll be honest with you, sometimes, don't tell anybody. Sometimes we pre-record these conversations before they air on before they air on LinkedIn and YouTube. But today we are live. Hope you're having a good day here so far. It's the weekend. Kind of the first full week of the year now completed. So here we are. We are talking about your discomfort and your destiny. I'm just going to get right to it. I do not have any guests planned here today. This is going to be a fairly short live stream, but some things that have been on my heart, things I wanted to share here as we kick off the first full week of January. This whole idea of being uncomfortable, obviously something that you probably have heard people talk about. It's not like a new concept, but I'm learning some things about that are really, really interesting, profound. And I think that these things can really, really accelerate your growth in whatever area of life that you want to grow in. So we're going to talk about that today, give you some tips and tricks. And also I want to ask you some very pointed questions for you to consider. And these questions will cut right to the heart of where you need to grow and expand. Not only where you need to, where you should. I think that it is your obligation to grow and expand. Sometimes in the personal development world, you get questioned. Why do you push so hard? Why are you striving? Why is it always the next thing? Can't you just be content? Can't you just be happy where you are? Why is there always this striving for more? And I think contentment, being humble, but yet searching for more, wanting more, growing, adapting, evolving, I think can all coexist. I haven't fully processed all of that. And maybe that's a conversation for another episode of the live stream, but I think that they can all coexist. I'm very content. I love my life. I'm so happy. I'm so thankful that I am here. But I also do want more. Not because it makes me who I am. My identity is already set in something deeper, a cause bigger than me. But I want the fullness of God. I want the fullness of what this life will afford me. And whether I have one day left on planet Earth or 100 or maybe 40 years or 50 years, whatever that number is, I'm going to spend that wisely and I'm going to get after it. So how do we do that? How do we reach these new levels of growth and expansion? Because the truth is that your ability to grow and expand is limitless. There is no cap on it. And to me, that gets me excited. And by the way, just a foundational message I want you to hear and maybe hear again from me. You are not a byproduct of your life. You get a say in this life. And for 43 of my 46 years, I always thought that I was just a byproduct of all of the externals happening around. And I didn't really have the power to choose to be able to co-create and design the life that I wanted. That is not true. The entire first part of my book, which I don't have handy, is you get a choice. So we have to lay down that foundational, that foundational message that you do get a say and you do get a choice. Let me just give you a quick little story, and this will lead into the agenda here today. So I'm not making this up for the sake of this live stream. My buzzword, my word for 2025, many of you will come up with a word that will kind of be the driver for, like all of your experiences or what you're trying to do, for the year. I kid you not, mine is uncomfortable. Okay, that doesn't really make a lot of sense without context. So here you go. I learned very, 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 in a very real way, just how powerful being uncomfortable is. Let me rewind the tape a little bit. 2024 was an incredible year. The first half of the year was fun. It was trips. It was experiences. And then I made the decision to write a book in June, like right at the midpoint of the year. It got super serious. 5 or 6 weeks later, I quit my W-2 job. Now I'm fully self-employed, have 4 children. Spent the fall of 2024 getting ready for the book launch on November the 19th. Had a very successful book launch. Was spending a lot of money along the way, investing and reinvesting in the book, the message, the platform, trying to build this business. Had the book launch, huge bang of momentum. Some of you are following along on that journey with me. And then 2 weeks to the day, after the book launch, after the big ba-boom of energy, my identity got stolen. And my two biggest platforms, Facebook and Instagram, are gone. I'm locked. Let me rephrase that. I don't have access to them. Instagram, I see it. You can see it. I cannot post on it. I cannot access it. And my Facebook page, which I had the most followers on my biggest audience, it is like it doesn't even exist. And so I'm working on getting those platforms back. But as you know, with Meta, that could mean today. It could be later this year. It could be never, or any of those options and in between. So that really that kind of took the wind out of my sails a little bit. I mean, you can imagine, I live online. I'm creating a business that's generally online based. That really sucked the wind out of me. You guys probably know the story. The very next day on December the 4th, I did not sleep the night before. I was physically ill. And I'm not trying to dramatize this. I'm not saying this just to say it and make it like to try to amp up the story. December the 3rd was one of the worst days of my life. That if you've ever had your identity stolen, you feel so violated. And not only did I feel violated, I'd given the hackers the keys to my kingdom, essentially, almost literally. And it wasn't just like a one-time thing. It was like throughout the entire day, I was following the trail and I was doing exactly what you should not do. And then by the end of what started as a Facebook hack ended the day as like a full-fledged identity theft. Money was stolen, bank accounts were compromised, yada, yada, yada. I'm happy to report almost everything is taken care of. My identity is safe, but my two biggest platforms are gone. Well, that's a big deal for somebody who's trying to build a business off of that, who has 4 kids and trying to like build a business that is sustainable and can feed my family. So that was a pretty big deal. And I did it to myself. And I felt this just an incredible amount of, I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, it wasn't necessarily shame. It was I felt foolish and I felt violated, and it was awful. The very next day, my friend Craig said to me without hesitation, he said, "Jared, this is going to be the best thing that ever happens to you." Flat out. And I was almost kind of shocked by that statement because, the dichotomy in how I felt versus what he said was so starkly different, right? He said, "This is going to be the best thing that ever happens to you." He goes, "I don't know why this shows up in your movie. We'll laugh about this someday. Not today. We'll laugh about this someday, but you will look back and be like, that was an inflection point for some of the biggest breakthroughs that you will have in your life and your business." Okay. That was enough to kind of get me through the month of December. The month of December was it was just like a mist. I look back and it was just one of those things where it was like I was just kind of in a fog for the entire month. I will tell you, by the 3rd week of December, I got mad. I woke up like the 3rd Saturday of December and I was mad. And the reason why I was mad wasn't because I got my identity stolen. It is because I put myself in a position to have an audience that could be taken from me. Because I got mad, guess what the result of that was? I got super focused. I spent that weekend on the whiteboard, which had something I hadn't done yet. I think I was so distracted by the book launch and then by the identity theft that I was kind of in this fog, and I was approaching the end of the year and I really hadn't visioned out my 2025. So I got mad and I started getting hyper focused. This is the year I want to help co-create in 2025. And then I did something. Instead of just kind of waiting and waiting for Meta to restore my audience, I'm like, I just got to go get it. And so you know what I did? I just got on the phone and I started reaching out to companies, contacts, people that I think I could do business with, people that I think I could add value to, companies I know I could help. And I'll just kind of fast forward and I'll give you kind of the overarching themes here. January is turning out to be, I think, like the biggest month I've ever had a business, ever. That's without 2 of my biggest platforms. Not having Facebook and Instagram, it made me a better businessman. It made me get dialed in. It showed me how much I relied on those platforms as a crutch. I'm a doer. Like I get energy out of just doing. Sometimes the doing isn't really doing anything. It makes me feel good. It appeases me that I'm like doing the thing, but is it really pushing the needle? Is it really growing something? And I am at a point where I am convinced that that absolutely needed to happen for me to be the vessel for this message to reach the people that need to hear the message that perhaps I was destined to come in contact with at a very specific time, so my message could help them and their life. This had to happen. This was not an attack of the devil or even of hackers. It was specifically designed to put me in a very uncomfortable position to prune, to adjust, to create deeper levels of faith, of consciousness, of trust, of certainty that this indeed was necessary for my benefit, for my growth, my expansion, and ultimately the expansion of what I feel is a divine message given to me to help fellow man. That identity theft happened about 5.5 weeks ago, and I have literally come full circle with it already, okay? And I'm already seeing the benefits of it. On December the 4th, I did not. However, I did believe Craig, but it really took me doing some things and sitting in the uncomfortable, not running from it, sitting in it, being friends with it, understanding, having faith, trusting, and having certainty that on the other side of this thing is something so big and so powerful, it had to happen. How could you call it anything else? 2 weeks after the book launch, that is such a strategic time, like when my momentum is like at an exponential rate, kablooey, there it goes. Okay. Now, this is like a theological debate, like I probably will have on another call someday. And you can take this for what it's worth. And by the way, I respect everybody's faith background. I'm not pushing my religion and my beliefs on you, but like, let's just have kind of a mildly philosophical debate. A lot of people would say like, well, you got your identity stolen. I mean, that's an attack of the enemy. That's the enemy attacking you. That's Satan, whatever negative force in the universe you call it, or name you give it, that it's an attack on that, trying to take you out. Perhaps. Or you could argue, you know what? That was actually the loving hand of the divine, of creator, God, whatever you call him. I'm cool with it. I'll call him God. But is it possible that out of love, grace, mercy, and a deep desire for me to be pruned in a very specific way to take me and the message to a whole nother level, to continue to help this world and fellow man in a much greater way, that had to happen? I am 100% certain it was the latter. 100% certain it was the latter. That gives you supernatural perspective when you now look at your life and you can start to see the chess game that is now at play. And when you understand the game that you are playing, now you have a better viewpoint to win the game. Guys, you are playing a game. And somebody on this call needs to hear this, whether you're watching it right now or watching it like someday down the road. You were destined to win this game, the game of life. I'm not suggesting you're destined to be a billionaire, and I'm not talking about financial success. I'm talking about the whole game, the full gamut. To have deep relationships, to be healthy, to be wealthy, to be wise, to have fulfillment, to have peace. Peace. You know, really, ultimately, what I want? I want peace. I used to think like peace equated to having more money, and I don't view it that way. Do I want more abundance in my financial world? 1,000%. But I understand that's not a result. Like having peace isn't a result of having more money. Having peace is understanding the game and having certainty in the future that I'm playing a game I'm destined to win. And I have a silent partner, call him God, creator, source, universe, whatever. I've got my words, you can pick yours, that has my best in mind. And even the difficult things are 1,000% for my good. So let's get into it. That was a 15-minute intro. You must, this is kind of one of a few points here I want to make here today. You must be uncomfortable. You must embrace being uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable is a muscle that 1000% must be flexed. Okay? It's a muscle that not should be flexed, must be flexed. You guys understand the gym, right? You go to the gym and you're weak and you start pushing that muscle and you start working it, and what happens to the muscle? It starts growing, it starts getting stronger, there's more endurance there. It's the same exact way. Okay, so you must be uncomfortable. Why is this a problem? Because most people run from anything uncomfortable. As soon as we feel discomfort, we will do everything we can to get rid of it, to get out of it, to stop it. It's human nature, right? I find a lot of people, especially in faith camps, they will do everything they can to pray it away. Help me with this situation. I'm not suggesting you shouldn't do that. I'm not suggesting you shouldn't look to God and to the divine to help you in your life. 1000% yes. But God isn't in the game of just fixing all of our problems so we never feel uncomfortable. You must have a worthy opponent to conquer. You have to. Show me somebody who is uberly successful, and I'm not just talking in business or money, but included, that hasn't been through something insanely uncomfortable. By the way, talk to somebody who's been married for more than, 5 seconds. But in all seriousness, find somebody who's been married 20, 30, 40, 50 plus years. Ask them how easy it was. It's horrible. Not horrible, but it's hard. It's difficult. Okay, for you to have a marriage that lasts 50 years, you will have been through the fire with that person. So you guys inherently understand that, but understand the biology and psychology that's happening. Human nature wants to run and sprint away from everything uncomfortable. By the way, I just did a webinar on Monday called Beyond the 1% World. The 1% world is like horse on blinders. Most people, and again, I don't have scientific backing for this. This is my opinion. If I had to put a number on it, 90 to 95% of people go through life just like this. They're living in only the physical life, right? There's so much happening around them, but they never see it because we're just acting and reacting in this 1% sliver of what they see, feel, touch, and they're only utilizing 1% of their soul. And so when anything comes into comfortable, we just going to act, react in that and get it out and just kind of go back to the template. This is one of the cheat codes to get out of the 1% world and open your mind and see the game that you're playing and release the potential that's inside of you that the divine has put there. I cannot think of a more worthy cause to spend your days left on planet Earth understanding the game and understanding what God, creator, source, universe has put inside of you and letting that come out into full expression to help fellow man. When you do that, you will be living a bold, exciting life. It's the subtitle of my book. Let me drop something on you guys. If you are not uncomfortable, you are not pressing hard enough. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not pressing hard enough. All right? This is a muscle that needs to be flexed. And by the way, that could mean a lot of things. That could mean in your marriage. That could mean in your relationships with your children. That could mean at the gym, physical life, financially, business, spiritually, emotionally. I can think of nothing but example after example in each of those areas I just spit out where you will be uncomfortable to expand and grow. Let's just talk about your marriage, for example. What's easier? Succumbing to bitterness, resentment, and anger with your spouse and ignoring him or her, reacting with nasty comments and negativity. Is that hard? That's not hard. You know what's hard? Not doing that. You know what's hard? Giving somebody grace, mercy, compassion. Even though you may feel a little tinge of resentment and bitterness, forgiving is very hard. It's not easy. That's uncomfortable, right? That's just one example. I mean, physically, this is easy. Go to the gym. Dude, people are like, I just don't like to go to the gym. I just don't like it. I don't like it either. It's uncomfortable. It hurts. It's taxing on your body. That's the point. I'm not a cold plunger, but what I've heard is that cold plunging is very uncomfortable. And yes, there are physical advantages of doing it. There's a release of endorphins, and I don't understand it because I'm not an expert there. But a lot of people that cold plunge, they like it because it forces them to dial in and embrace the uncomfortable. And ultimately, what you're doing is you're expanding your soul. You're expanding your capacity to understand more of the game and have more of the supernatural in your life. Okay. Now, it's not something I'm doing quite yet, but maybe someday. Let me just get right to the point as well. I will tell you one of the biggest areas I struggle with and always have been is in this idea of money, my relationship with money. I grew up in lack. By the way, I am not blaming my parents in any way, shape, or form. I'm just giving you an example. Like I did not grow up with a lot. I always had enough. I always had plenty. I was never without. Let me just preface that. But I will tell you, like, I grew up in a home where everything had a price tag. I was always aware of what things cost. Always. I was always acutely aware of the cost of everything. Like how much our food cost, how much like the 12-pack of sodas, how much that event cost, how much my shoes cost, how much my clothes cost. I remember one time, like I convinced my mom to buy a hat that I thought I wanted, and then like a year later we found it, still had the price tag on it, and then there was a conversation about, I can't believe I bought you that, and it cost $10. And so there was always this very, very hardcore sense of what the cost of everything was. And so I took that into my adulthood. I created a paradigm about that. I always went through my life trying to fight lack and always believing that there's never enough. Well, we're called to be generous people. We're called to be people of an open hand. And when you have a lack, you have a tendency to hold on tightly, hoard, and you get glue in your pockets. That's a term I haven't heard of before, and I heard that recently. I was like, yeah, 100%. You get that those finances get into your accounts, they get into your possession, and they get sticky. And generosity cuts right to the heart of that and breaks that tie. So people like me have a hard time spending. Like, by the way, and I'm not just talking about giving, I'm talking about spending. Like people like me, like we hate spending money. I love depositing money. I love dropping money into the account. But when I see money go out, like, I don't like that. Love this, hate that, right? The truth is that really money is almost kind of an illusion. It really is just, it's energy that's moving around, right? There's a term out there called velocity of money. People that really don't have any tie to money, they have no problem letting it move around from this account to here. It goes out there, it comes back, and I'm just basically a conduit for money to ebb and flow. People like me, as soon as it comes into my world, I hoard it, stop it, slow down the velocity, and then you dampen the power of it. Again, that's a whole nother topic for another day. But I'll tell you, like, if you want to expand your capacity, you're going to have to get uncomfortable. One of the fastest ways you can do this is with your money. With your money. I'm not preaching prosperity gospel here in any way, shape, or form, but when you are able to let go, it cuts right to the heart of your ego, your fear, and your lack, and you have to trust that there is something on the other side of that. But here's the deal. You have to give with 100%. No expectation. Now, again, that makes people like me very uncomfortable, especially when I'm trying to grow a business and I have 4 children at home and now I'm self-employed and I'm missing 2 of my biggest platforms. Okay. And I'll spare you the details, but there was like a lot of things that happened right at the end of 2024 where I felt this massive conviction and confliction in me over like doing an end of the year gift, but like, shouldn't I hold on to that money? And dude, it was like a spiritual and mental battle that came to a head literally on New Year's Eve day last week. But since then, I've been able to see and understand and have more certainty that, oh, okay, this is the game that I'm playing. Okay, so the title of this little live stream is Your Discomfort, Your Destiny. You want to open the doors for breakthrough in this year in your life Get very, very big and uncomfortable with your generosity, okay? And give it with no expectations. I don't expect me to like all of a sudden win the lottery and a check to show up in my mailbox today, but do understand that you're playing a game where there is cause and effect. It will come back to me in some way, shape, or form. It may not be tomorrow, and it may not even be financial, but that is like a rule of the game, and have certainty that it will happen. Here's something that somebody challenged me, and I'll challenge you guys. I'm going to throw it out there, and you guys can take it for what it's worth. What if instead of making a revenue goal, if you're a business owner, or even if you're not a business owner, instead of making a revenue goal for 2025, what if you made a giving goal? But that giving goal was based on your level of expansion. That giving goal is way more than you may have ever given before. Start with that, because there's something so powerful to our expansion, our growth, and the spiritual, and our tie to money, and our generosity for the world around us. Okay. And so that's actually something that I've done. I had a conversation with my wife about this week. I said, let's make a giving goal, which, by the way, we have never done. Blatant honesty. I said, instead of focusing on how much money I want to try to make in this business, what if we made a generosity goal of this? And then in our prayers, in our consciousness, it's like, God, let's make this happen. Show me the opportunities. Let me be open and available to opportunities I may not understand or even see right now, that can allow me to co-create that type of income so I can give that amount. Guys, I guess we'll reconvene at the end of the year to see how that works. But I gotta tell you, like, that makes me uncomfortable. But it's cutting to the heart of my ego, of my fear, of my lack. And I understand that feeling of uncomfortableness is the gateway. It is the gateway. It's the fastest way to grow and expand into our destiny. Okay. So something to consider. I'm going to leave you with 2 questions here and we'll wrap this up. Where in your life are you way too comfortable? Where are you right now way too comfortable? All right, think about that for a second. Is it in your physical life, financially, business? Where have you put it on cruise control? Marriage, relationships with kids? Maybe it's growing a business. Maybe your business is really like doing fine and you're just kind of okay with it. But in the back of your mind, you feel like there's something bigger that you're feeling called into doing. But to do that, it will require you to be uncomfortable. And then the last question, I'll leave you with this. How can you strategically, not just randomly, strategically manufacture discomfort in your life right now? Okay. How can you strategically manufacture discomfort in your life right now? Because discomfort will either come from us choosing it and helping create it, or it might come from an external circumstance like an identity theft. Okay. Both probably are necessary to some point, but God darn it, I guess I would rather choose it. I would rather be out ahead of it. I would rather be proactive with it. Again, I don't feel like the identity theft was an attack that was 100% necessary. And once I accepted that and surrendered that, now I've seen the fruit of that 6 weeks later, big time. And as a result, I have more peace and certainty. That's the ultimate game. It's not that I have more money. It's that I have more peace and certainty. I understand the game. And so that proved to me there is something to this idea of being uncomfortable. So going into 2025, like I said at the beginning of this live stream, my word is uncomfortable. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I'm uncomfortable in all areas of my life. Full disclosure, I don't like running. I'm not a runner. As soon as we're done here, I'm going to go do wind sprints. Not that I really like, I do like how it makes me feel, but it's uncomfortable. And I'm 46 years old. Okay. How can you strategically manufacture discomfort? And how can you start it right now? Right now. Guys, your discomfort is the gateway to your destiny. All right. Embrace it. Embrace the muscle. It must be flex. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not pressing hard enough. And if you were to choose, if I would give you advice on one area to get really uncomfortable with, get really uncomfortable in your generosity. Maybe instead of making a revenue goal, you make a giving goal for the end of this year. You give it, you throw it out there, and you ask God, creator, source, universe, whatever word you pick, and you say, wow, how can I be open and available to make this happen? And watch out, because there will probably be opportunities that will make you very uncomfortable to make that happen. And it's just this incredibly divine game that we get to play, and it makes life very bold and exciting. One last thing, I'll leave it with you. Today is Saturday, January the 11th. On Monday, January the 13th, I'm starting my next class, Accelerator. I have extended the early bird special. Go check it out. You can check it out on my website, jaredsebesta.com, jaredsebesta.com, my name.com. You'll see a link for Accelerator if you want in that course. It's starting on Monday. It's everything we talked about here today, plus a process, plus me helping coaching you along the way so you can accelerate yourself into an unrecognizable 2025. But I will tell you, in that class, I'm going to strive to make you very, very uncomfortable. If you don't want that, don't sign up. But if you want more, and you understand the game that you're playing, get signed up for the class. Early bird special runs through today. I was going to knock it off at midnight last night, and I said, you know what? I'll give people one more day through this live stream to get signed up for Accelerator. Go there right now, jaredsebesta.com. Guys, have a wonderful Saturday. Thanks for tuning in. If you lasted this long, appreciate you. We'll do it again next Saturday.